Well, in my experience, even 10 years ago, very few people had heard about deep sea bed mining. I certainly hadn't, and I've been working on deep sea issues for the past 20 years. It wasn't until I got involved in an EU funded research project looking at the potential impacts of deep sea bed mining that I started to realize what was going on. I think what's happened in the last decade is that because mining companies have begun to apply for exploration permits in the deep seabed through the International Seabed Authority, that we kind of went into phase two, where now people began, at least negotiators began, paying attention to this issue, government in particular, and debating whether or not it could be regulated. But we're now, I think, in phase three, which is really a growing international recognition that there are serious risks associated with this potential industry. It hasn't started yet, and that scientists are sounding the alarm. Certainly, many civil society organizations are concerned about it, and I think the press, the media, is waking up to the fact that there is a major decision looming on the horizon over the next 2 years as to whether the world will start go mining or not. The perception of the risk, or the recognition of the risk of deep sea bed mining, has really now come into, I think, sharp focus, or much sharper focus recently, because of three things. One, the climate crisis. We know we have to deal with climate change and quickly, and there's a recognition that we are capable of impacting the Earth on a planetary scale. Number two, a report that was issued in 2019 that warned that we are at risk of losing 1 million species over the next several decades if the pressures on biodiversity, on the animals, the living things on the planet, are not relieved, are not changed. And scientists are warning that the deep sea, that biodiversity loss in the deep sea, if mining begins, will be permanent, irreversible, and large scale. And so that, I think, is a contributing factor. And three, the country of Nauru, on behalf of a company called the Metals Company, has triggered a so-called 2-year rule with the International Seabed Authority, which means they may get a license in the next 2 years to start mining. And countries are now forced to think very hard, the 167 countries that are members of the International Seabed Authority, about whether they're going to let this happen or not, or whether they're going to rethink and change course away from opening up the deep sea to mining and establish a moratorium until we have much better understanding of the deep ocean and what the impacts of mining could be. And so now the clock is ticking. Governments have to decide one way or the other in the next 2 years.